pause it here. There are two ways to write a list of cars. So if we have a list of cars, this is an array. So we have cars at 0, cars at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe we have different kinds of cars there, like Mercedes, BMW, blah, 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 in our list. Instead of writing that 6 times, we can write a statement, a for statement, that's going to go through and just change that I for us. So it's going to go through 6 times, as you can see, because if the length of the cars list is 6, for example, it's going to go in there and print it 6 times, and it's going to change that I. You can see that above the for loop, we declared the variable I, and we made it start at 0. And we're going to stop doing the stuff inside the brackets after I is equal to the length of the list. So let's say there were 6 things in the list. Since we start counting at 0, we would name the things 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So as soon as I gets to 6, we're going to stop. We're going to stop doing the for loop, so we will exit the for loop after I is 6. So you can see that because we do I equals 0, we start with 0, keep checking that every time, and then we add 1 to I. And so there are different kinds of loops, but we're going to focus on the for loop. So we're scrolling down now. So pause it here. And, well, basically, what I described is true. So the for loop is a counting loop. It does things a certain number of times. We can tell it exactly how many times we want, or we can give it something like the length of a list, like the cars list. And it's just going to repeat that code inside of it until the counter, like I, for example, gets too high or too low, depending on the middle statement. So statement 1, statement 2, and statement 3. So statement 2 tells you when it will end. Statement 3 tells you how to increase the counter or decrease the counter, as the case may be. You could even increase it by 2 or decrease it by 2, but that's usually not done. Let's see. So only about 38 seconds into the actual footage. Okay. So there's a little trick with a for in loop where we can just have a sort of a list of variables. So remember how we declared like the variable I. You can see they're declaring an x there, but so we do have a list of variables in person in this example, and what we'd be able to do in this case is just go through each field, I'd call it, in those curly braces. You see those? So var person equals curly brace, f name John, L name Doe, age 25. So we'd go through F name, L name, and age in that person object. And yeah, so it's a different kind of for loop, but it's one that's unique to JavaScript. I've seen it in other languages too, but it's kind of cool, so I'm going to hit play. We're about 54 seconds in. And now we're going to do conditional statements. So it looks like, okay, I'm going to pause it here, 121. So we've got this if-else construction. So now remember we had our variables before. So with an if-else, we get to check whether variables are true, or whether certain statements about variables are true. So, for example, that hour is less than 18. So I guess 18 is 6 p.m. when we usually talk about it in English. Although it wouldn't matter, you could put 25 there, and the JavaScript wouldn't know the difference because it doesn't know that hour is talking about time. It just knows it's a variable. So if hour is, let's say hour were 17, then we would be able to go in there and say that greeting is equal to good day. So that's actually interesting right there. When we declared the greeting variable, you obviously can't see where they declared it, but you would go var greeting somewhere outside of those two and probably above of it. And the single equals is called an assignment statement. So the thing on the left side gets the value of the thing on the right side. So, okay, but let's say the hour were 19. Okay, then we wouldn't pass the first if because we wouldn't go in there. So we'd get good evening assigned to our greeting. So that's different. Okay, so we're going to move on to comparisons. And these are the different kinds of comparisons in JavaScript. So I paused it at 137 here. Okay, so you can see the bottom ones are really useful for, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So that gives us back trues and falses for ifs. You can see that we're assuming that x equals 5 in this case. So like for the greater than, we know that 5 is not greater than 8. We know that 5 is less than 8. 5 is not greater than or equal to 8, and 5 is less than or equal to 8. So we get false, true, true, false. And it's just, if you were to put 9 in there instead, you'd get the opposite because, well, 9 is greater than 8, right? Okay. So, and then there's this equal to thing, and the interesting thing with that is so obviously, like, 5 is not equal to 8, and then we have 5 is equal to 5. And then we have 5 is equal to 5 in quotes. That's kind of interesting because quotes usually means like a string. And usually a string is used to store text, like any kind of text you want, like, for example, Nastia is awesome. JavaScript says that 5 is equal to the string 5. Most languages don't say that. So you could change that string 5 to say 5 horses in a bar, and then it wouldn't still be true that 5 is equal to 5 horses in a bar as a string. It would all have to be in quotes, but yeah, it's kind of a weird part of JavaScript. Now, now the triple equals, the 3 equals in a row, a string would not be equal to a number. So you can see that with the x triple equals 5 in quotes, and that's false now. So in that case, the type of the variable's value has to match the other value. Yeah, so like only a string could equal a string, or only a number could equal a number with the triple equals. So the type has to match. Yeah. So that we're gonna move on. Oh, and here are some cool ones. We can talk about these logical operators later. I remember I was trying to tell you something like this way back in 2015 with and, or, and not. I think you can get it. It's not that difficult. It's just when, well, ask me about it if you're interested. I certainly hope that this is all interesting to you. I'm gonna send you some of these links, hopefully. If I don't, please remind me. Okay, so yeah, we're assigning variables in here, like I was saying. And remember, you can assign any value you want to the variables. You can assign a string, you can assign a number. It looks like you can, well, okay. You can even assign the addition of 2 variables to a var. So there's the assignment operator I was talking about. So the left-hand side gets the stuff from the right-hand side. And we can declare those variables and assign them at the same time. So var car name equals Volvo, for example. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I have. I hope you have a good day. Just let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to send you those links.